their dreams. On behalf of everyone at TikTok and all our users across the country, I want to thank President Trump for making TikTok the largest social media platform in the world.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to We Need to Talk with Tony Lindsay. I am your host, Tony Lindsay, of course. And I'm only on here for just a bit tonight. There's a lot going on. We're just, 3 days? What the hell? Okay, I don't even know what the hell just happened. Hold on. Can y'all hear that echo? Oh, I know what's going on. Look at this. Okay, so I guess I'm live streaming on Instagram. Usually they kind of block me on Instagram, so I guess I'm live streaming. So cool. All right. So, how is everybody doing tonight? I'm on here just for a little bit. I wanted to go over a couple of things. We're 3 days away from the inauguration of Donald Trump, and we're seeing a lot of developments. We've all been debating a lot of issues going back and forth over the months leading up to the election. But I think there's a few things that we need to talk about, right? Now, we know that the Supreme Court, they upheld the TikTok ban law, right? But we also know that Joe Biden punted it to Donald Trump. All right. So Joe Biden has basically punted the issue to Donald Trump to handle during his administration. But that means that nothing has technically changed and that on the 19th, TikTok is scheduled to go dark in the apps. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your TikTok. For all of those who might be a little bit confused about this, you're not going to lose access to your TikTok app. What's going to happen is you're no longer going to be getting the updates that you usually get for your app to function better and remain updated. And eventually it's going to run out, and then you just won't be able to service it if you're using it through the app, because the app stores are no longer going to be servicing it. Like what is it? Is it what's the Apple what is that called? The App Store on Apple, like Google Play, all of those other things that service your application. But maybe there's a buyer in line. People are talking about the possibility of Elon Musk buying it. I'm hearing Kevin O'Leary. Now I'm hearing Mr. Beast is talking to a bunch of investors. But honestly, I don't think TikTok is going to go away. I think Donald Trump is working out a deal, working out something with Shou Chew, and they're going to figure something out. But here's the thing, though. The CEO of TikTok, Shou Chew, he posted a message this morning basically thanking Donald Trump for all of his support and cooperation and all of this crap. But I want to play a little bit of what he said, and I want to talk about that. This is just one of the issues that I want to cover, and there's a couple of topics that I want to go over. But let's start with Shou Chew and what he had to say. And hopefully you guys can hear it. Just let me know. Please let me know if you can hear it. All right. Wait, let me go to the comment section here, because I want to know if you guys are able to hear it. If you're able to hear it, just let me know. I'm going to play it now.
Hi, everyone. It's Shou here. As you know, we have been fighting to protect the constitutional right to free speech for the more than 170 million Americans who use our platform every day to connect, create, discover, and achieve their dreams. On behalf of everyone at TikTok and all our users across the country, I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States. This is a strong stand for the First Amendment and against arbitrary censorship. As we've
Okay, hold on one second, because we're going to have to call out the hypocrisy here. First of all, Shochu is not fighting for your First Amendment right and the Constitution and all of the ideals of free speech because and to protect us from censorship. Why? Why do I know that? Because Shochu has been censoring us like crazy. TikTok has been censoring us even more than Meta platforms has been censoring us. And we know they've been doing this very much in service to the Biden-Harris administration and the intel agencies. That's just a fact. We know that by now. It's a fact. I mean, right now I'm streaming simultaneously here to X and where am I streaming? Rumble, YouTube, and Instagram. But I'm also streaming to X, to TikTok right next to me. And if I say one of the wrong keywords, this account will be suspended. It will get taken down, might get banned. I'll be demonetized. That's just what happens on social media nowadays, but especially on TikTok. So I don't want anyone to look at Shochu as if he's some sort of a hero now, just because he's, speaking up for your right to free speech, because this has nothing to do with your rights. This has everything to do with their bottom line, the dollar, their profits, being able to continue to operate in the United States. This is what is politically expedient for Shochu. The same way it was politically expedient for Mark Zuckerberg to open his lying ass mouth and try to pretend like he hasn't been totally complicit in censoring you even before COVID. Don't let these people pretend to be heroes and these new champions of free speech when at the end of the day, they're corporatists. They don't care anything about you. This is all about their profits. Now, with that being said, we know that they are bending the knee, kissing the ring of Donald Trump only because he won this election. Because I can guarantee you, if Kamala Harris had won this election, y'all wouldn't have been hearing any of this bullshit from none of them, period. So they are not champions of free speech. They have not come to this come to Jesus moment. They are corporatists, period. But the fact that they're bending the knee to Donald Trump, some may say, oh, we don't. But you know what? I think it's a good thing that they're doing it anyway. I don't care about their intentions. I don't care about their character. All I care about is our right to free speech being protected. Now, a lot of you have argued, well, you don't have free speech rights when it comes to private companies. And that is true. But when that private entity decides to act as a tentacle, as an extension of your government in order to censor American citizens on behalf of the Biden administration, they're no longer acting in a private capacity. And if anything, they are complicit in government censorship. They are submitting themselves as a tool of censorship by this government. So you all have to understand this issue. So Shochu is protecting himself and he's protecting his bottom line. Now, we can move on from that issue. Do I think TikTok is still going to be here? Yes, I do. You still will have access to TikTok through your web browsers, by the way. But as far as it being serviced on the apps, it's not going to happen after the 19th, but I'm pretty sure Donald Trump will do something on the 20th when he comes in, or the 21st. I don't know if he's able to do this via EO, executive order, or anything like that, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. All right. And that will end that segment on the TikTok censorship. Now, what's another thing I wanted to cover? Oh, yeah. This is something I definitely wanted to talk about. And this is not even so much as it pertains to my my TikTok community, because, and here's a funny story. I landed in the TikTok community only because I was so heavily censored and shadow banned on Meta platforms, on YouTube. I just have been an outcast because I dared to tell the truth. I got caught up with the censorship, the mass censorship of people who dared to step outside of the Democrat leftist orthodoxy. And yeah, I was punished for it. I was punished for it with a lot of other people, especially surrounding the issue of COVID-19. Now, I just said COVID-19. If you say that too many times on TikTok, your account will be suspended. That's why I have TikTok right next to me streaming, but it's not connected to this because, and the reason why I'm even streaming now is because usually when you're on TikTok, we do these things called lives. We do TikTok lives where we have these forums, we have panels, we have discussions. And if you say the wrong thing, they will shut down your live, they'll suspend you, and you lose the entire record of the conversation. So the reason why whenever I go live on TikTok now, I like to stream here on the podcast. I like to do it on Rumble, X, because these platforms don't censor you. And so I will be able to maintain a record of whatever was said because a lot of valuable information has been hidden from all of us because of this massive censorship. If you don't have the right to speak, you don't have the right to learn. And so the First Amendment is one of the most fundamental rights in this country, including the Second Amendment. And I believe that the Second Amendment should actually be the First Amendment in order to ensure that the First Amendment remains intact. Now, the next topic that I wanted to cover, I wanted to talk about briefly, is the ceasefire in Gaza. Now, we know that there has been a ceasefire that has been brokered between Hamas and the Israeli government. And we know, hold on one second. My son is singing or something. Do you believe TikTok will be banned permanently? All right, did somebody just do a poll? All right, y'all go ahead, do the poll. I guess my mom's over there working. All right, so Joe Biden has been, I guess, trying to take credit for the ceasefire. But let us not forget that Joe Biden and the entire administration, Antony Blinken, they've all just idly stood by and not only allowed this attempted genocide to go through, the blatant, I would call them, we've been witnessing crimes against humanity. Let's just call it what it is. You know, they announced it from the moment they said that they wouldn't allow any food or water in there, no electricity. I mean, let's just be real about it. They were very clear about their intentions. And I think this is going to be one of the darkest moments in American history, just to cover the role that we had in this genocide in Gaza. And what makes it worse is that for the past 15 months, the Biden-Harris administration has just idly stood by, not only idly stood by, but they facilitated this for the past 15 months. So right now, what I want to do is I want to speak to my Democrat friends. I want to speak to all of the people on the left, the people who I thought were friends, many of whom cut me off the moment I publicly stated that I was going to vote for Donald Trump. And I remember one of the reasons why I said I was going to vote for Donald Trump was because I only wanted to focus on policy. And I also had a strong interest in seeing all of these foreign conflicts cease, because at the end of the day, this is about human life. And if we care about all of the innocent women and children who have lost their lives in Gaza, then the priority should have always been a ceasefire. Now, I remember from the beginning of this conflict, all the Democrats were 100% on board, including Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, the hypocrite. And I've lost so much respect for Bernie. It's just crazy. But I remember as we talked about this, I remember the, what was that movement? What was that movement? Can anybody remind me what the movement was where they were withholding their vote unless, I think it was called the, oh my gosh, what was the movement? Not Uncommitted. The Uncommitted movement, where Democrats everywhere were saying, this is during the primaries. Remember, they were saying they weren't going to vote for Joe Biden and we're uncommitted, as a way of trying to strong arm or leverage your votes. But what happened? They took away your primary. They told you that it didn't matter what you thought about anything because Joe Biden was going to be the only candidate that you're allowed to vote for. I remember Simone Sanders getting on her platform and laughing when the notion of a primary was brought up. She laughed. She said, "I'm trying hard not to laugh. There will be no primary. There will be no debates." That means they took away your choice. That means the Democrat Party, which is supposed to be democratic, took away any notion of democracy and they selected your candidate for you. Hold on one second. Why does this poll keep coming up on my TikTok? Is there a reason why this poll keeps coming up? Are one of my mods putting up a poll or something? Can you, if you are, please don't put up any more polls because it keeps popping up and blocking my screen. I don't know why that keeps happening. But yeah, so, and I understand there was a lot of passion behind this. Everyone was being fear-mongered about Donald Trump, and he's Hitler, he's a fascist, all of this stuff. But meanwhile, we're watching the Democrats, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, we're watching them, I would say, not even pander to you, because the honest truth is, whenever you saw Palestinian protesters who would show up at her rallies, she would brush them off, have them kicked out. She never committed to anything. She wouldn't even say the word ceasefire for months until she was solidly in position as the nominee. Then she started to kind of muster the terminology ceasefire, but she would say ceasefire until, or temporary ceasefire. You understand what I'm saying? So she never really had a commitment to ending the conflict. And what hurt me the most, honestly, were a lot of people that I respected on the left, a lot of people, people who are Muslim, people who are Palestinians. I watched a lot of Democrats, people on the left, progressives, who were condemning this genocide in Gaza, and you said you were not going to give Joe Biden your vote no matter what. I watched all of you capitulate because of big bad Donald Trump. I've had so many exchanges with people on the left where I tried to just introduce a little bit of logic. Donald Trump is the only president that I've ever seen actually challenge Bibi Netanyahu. Donald Trump is a person that he's the only president that I've seen in my lifetime that didn't have any new wars during his administration. Donald Trump ran on a platform of peace, and Kamala Harris, the Democrat, and Joe Biden, they were running on a platform of more conflict. We watched the United Nations. We watched all of these countries across the world come together to condemn what was happening in Gaza. And who stood in the way? Who vetoed resolutions? Who vetoed any attempt at tangible action against Bibi Netanyahu? The United States. That's one of the contributors to the anti-American sentiment that has been steadily building across the globe. The United States stands as the world's hypocrite. And unfortunately, a lot of Democrat voters, you are standing in the exact same position because you were willing to sacrifice the lives of all of those people because you just didn't like Trump. Even though all of the evidence was pointing to the fact that this man wanted to end all of these conflicts, all of these proxy wars, even by the time he gets in office. Who promised you that? Did Joe Biden promise you that when he was running? Did Kamala Harris promise you that? No. There's only one person who promised you that and who actually had a record of not creating or facilitating or allowing any new wars under their administration. With all the incompetence that you witnessed by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you still have this but Trump mentality. It's TDS. It's Trump derangement syndrome. Because if you step back and you look at things logically, rationally, you would understand that a continuation of the Biden-Harris administration, whether it's just with Kamala Harris, this would not have ended. So now it's scheduled. There's a ceasefire scheduled for the 19th, the day before Donald Trump is inaugurated. Who are you all going to give credit for that? Are any of you like the Mehdi Hassans and all of these pundits out here who have been talking all of this shit about Trump, are you going to give Trump credit for this? Even though everyone in the Israeli government and media has given Trump credit for this? Qatar, Egypt, everyone, the State Department, Joe Biden's State Department, all of whom have said that this could not have been done without the crucial role Donald Trump played. Is anybody going to apologize? Is anyone going to reverse course and say, damn, I could have been wrong? Or is your TDS still that strong? Let me play you something.
Ceasefire.
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 After inflicting death and destruction on Gaza for more than 15 months, Israel has agreed to a ceasefire with Hamas. This deal, brokered by Qatar and Egypt and supported by the US, closely mirrors a proposal put forward in May 2024 by the Biden administration. The original plan, which included a ceasefire,
That's right. Joe Biden put forth a plan. Remember, he put this symbolic plan forward back in May, or was it March? It was earlier this year. What happened with it? You mean to tell me that magically, all of a sudden, they decided, okay, yeah, we agree with Joe Biden right after Donald Trump's election, like a couple of days before Donald Trump gets into office? Or do you think it has anything to do with the fact that Donald Trump said, if this is not done and the hostages are not returned by the time I'm sworn in, there will be hell to pay? Could that be it? Could that have something to do with it? Also, there was immense pressure that was placed on Bibi Netanyahu, which clearly Joe Biden would not do and was afraid to do. Donald Trump is a bully, and that's who you want leading the country. You want a bully, especially after all of the weakness that we have seen under the current administration. But let's continue.
hostage prisoner exchange and the reconstruction of Gaza was not implemented at that time, leading to prolonged hostilities and severe humanitarian consequences. Reports from diplomats involved in the negotiations suggest that meaningful progress came only when President-elect Donald Trump exerted direct pressure on Israel.
Wait, did you hear that? Let me play that again for you so you can understand.
Progress came only when President-elect humanitarian consequences. Reports from diplomats involved in the negotiations suggest that meaningful progress came only when President-elect Donald Trump exerted direct pressure on Israel.
Diplomats directly involved in the process said that the results only came after Donald Trump got involved. Did y'all hear that? Did you hear it loud and clear? Or do I need to play it again?
Some have described it as the first time there's been real pressure on the Israeli side to accept a deal. This revelation highlights a glaring gap in President Biden's approach. Despite being in office for the entirety of Israel's genocidal assault, his administration failed to leverage its influence to expedite an agreement that could have prevented months of devastation. When comparing his statements on May 27 and yesterday,
so it's been 15 months. Someone tell me, how did Joe Biden suddenly leverage his influence in order to broker this deal when he proposed it in May of this year? What happened? What was the X factor? What was the new factor that was introduced in order to get everyone to say, okay, we're going to stop now? Because Joe Biden was asked about it. He was asked, yeah, do you take credit for this, or is this due to Donald Trump? You know what he said? Are you kidding me? Are you joking? The only joke is the person that is standing right now in the position of president of the United States, and all the people who facilitated this, all the people who idly stood by and lied to the American people about the condition of this man, who clearly cannot articulate a full sentence without a teleprompter. And even in that situation, he struggles. I think that the Biden administration, this presidency, has served as the biggest smear on this country. I think it served as a grave threat to the national security of this country, largely due to the fact that Most of our foreign adversaries clearly understood that we had a vegetable in the White House. It was nothing more than disarray and chaos. And the second in command, who technically was supposed to be that voice of reason and rationale and common sense and intelligence, was Kamala Harris. Just think about that.
There's a remarkable shift in the tone and emphasis of Biden.
Israel has offered a comprehensive new proposal. It's a roadmap to an enduring ceasefire and the release of all hostages. And as long as Hamas lives up to its commitments, a temporary ceasefire would become, in the words of the Israeli proposal,
What?
The cessation of hostilities permanently. This is the exact framework of the deal I proposed back in May. Exact. And
Shut up,
we
Ivan.
got the world to endorse it. Any will be.
Hold on.
This
The delay in adopting the May 2024 ceasefire plan has had devastating effects for Gaza's civilian population. Over the past 8 months, Israel has killed more than 10,300 Palestinians, mostly women and children.
Okay, so let me stop right there. Now, they're saying over the past 7-8 months, Israel has killed more than 10,000 Palestinian women and children. We know that's false. We know it's the count is way more than that. I don't even know what the count is anymore at this point, but clearly, I am pretty sure that by the time this is over and the count comes out, you will know, we will find out that more than 300,000 people have lost their lives. We're going to find that out. Mark my words right now. And now, moving on to the next. What's the next issue? What was the next issue? Let me look over in TikTok to see what they wanted to talk about. Because there were a couple of things. There were a couple of issues. As a matter of fact, let me go to it right here. Because I had kind of saved some of this stuff. Because it's just so many things happening right now. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So another issue that I wanted to talk about was the after effects of the response to COVID-19. Now, we haven't been allowed to talk about this stuff pretty much all over social media because people, they get their accounts suspended whenever they talk about it. And I won't even get too deep into it now, but we're finding out now, after looking at the data, a lot of the adverse effects, a lot of the side effects, a lot of the complications that people have experienced from the jab, we're now that were labeled as extremely rare. We've now had the opportunity to look at what the gauge was for the term rare. And in some cases, it was a 600% increase in the likelihood of certain conditions like myocarditis and pericarditis. But we're going to get deeper down that rabbit hole on a future episode. But one of the things that we have not talked about, which is astounding to me, is the rising rate of all-cause mortality, not only in the United States, but we're talking about based upon different demographics, but also across the globe. In some cases, in some age groups, the all-cause mortality rate is up 40%. But you will see that there is a uniformity in that virtually all-cause mortality is up virtually all across the globe. Is this a coincidence? Is anyone able to put 2 and 2 together? I mean, is there at least a correlation here? I think what we went through was from 2020 on, but mainly in 2021 when we experienced those mandates. I think what we experienced was some of the greatest crimes against humanity. And I think people need to be held accountable, one of them being Tony Fauci. I think we've been lied to by a lot of the institutions that we have deferred to for information, like the CDC, like the WHO. which we know is basically the head, the spearhead of the globalist agenda. A lot of the American people don't understand how we dodged a major bullet with this election, because we know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were trying to circumvent Congress and sign us on to this 2030 agenda with the UN, the pandemic treaty, the summit for the future, the pandemic preparedness plan, whatever you want to call it, because it has a billion different names to it. Most people never really actually looked at the language to understand how that agreement, it hands over the sovereignty of this nation and the constitutional rights of its citizens, making it submissive or subservient to foreign nations. People don't even know that. Subjecting us to surveillance, subjecting us to mandates. So all of these things, we really have a responsibility to start looking deeper into the information that is available to us, without this desire to be protected from information or protected from words. 1 second. Yeah, this camera works. It only works in like spurts of like 15 minutes. But yeah, so we have to get to a place where we are willing to start to look into information and stop being afraid of it because we just want to be protected. The easiest way to get people to submit to authority is to just scare the hell out of them. And I think that what we experienced during COVID was a massive population experiment on control. And I think we failed miserably. So, yep, with that, that's all I really want to cover right now. I'll probably take some of this, clip some of this up, and I'll put it out in pieces here and there. But thank you all for joining me and listening. And I guess I'll catch up with you guys sometime on the weekend or at the inauguration. All right. And we'll cover that. So everybody enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you later. Peace.